Alrighty, welcome back everyone to the Pit to Pro podcast. Today's episode number 40. We've got a very special guest with us today. We've got Cody Kessel on the pod. Welcome to the show, Cody.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, this is gonna be so fun. And my first question is, why are you so open to sharing your stories and struggles? Because I think you might be the fastest replier to the guests we've asked to come on the show. You're like, absolutely, what can I do? What can I answer? I'm an open book. And I think that's so cool. And that's exactly what we're trying to deliver to our target audience. But where does that come from? Why are you so transparent and eager to help the next generation?
It's a great question. I just really like sharing my journey. It's I get so much out of it because if you're even able to connect with one or two athletes around the world, then it just makes it all worth it. It's been so cool to worldwide have these connections with people who are say, "Hey, I'm going through that too," or "I'm struggling with that too." Um, a lot of the sharing of the journey is you share the reality, and a lot of times the struggle is the reality, and that just connects with people on and off the court. So I don't even see myself as extra transparent. I just see myself as doing my best to share it as I go. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, what are some of the best pieces of advice that you got in your youth volleyball career, or actually any point in your career that you're like super big on? Oh, I have to share that.
There's so many. I think a huge one that comes up a lot is this locus of control, is because it's two-sided. It's when you get clarity on things that are completely in your control, then you can focus way more on that and give a lot more energy to that. And on the other side, if you realize that certain things like ultimately the score of a match, for example, if you just take a moment, even when you're younger, and you think about it, oh, that's actually not in my control, then you get this double-sided effect of your energy and your attention being maximized for the better. So there was one moment, for example, where um, hey, there was a coach who was talking to me and said, "Hey, do you realize that you can't ultimately control the outcome of a game?" And we kind of walked through it. I said, "Yeah, even if I play really good, the other team could play well and all these things. Yeah, ultimately you can't control that." And he kind of walked me through and he also said, "Do you see how you're letting the outcome of a game also affect how you feel about yourself as a person?" And I was like, "Yeah, I realized that." And then he kind of walked me through and he goes, "Well, do you realize how you feel yourself about yourself as a person, you're putting that into something that's out of your control?" And I kind of went, "Oh, yeah, that doesn't really make any sense, does it?"
Hmm.
So how can I get back to those things of and Andrea Becker was great at reminding me of this later in my career when I got to the national team, of just as reminders of best energy, best effort, best attitude, best teammate, and hustle. When you're younger learning sports, there's some great coaches that are just like, it's just about the purity of effort that you put forth, and that in and of itself is something to be sought after and to go after. And yeah.
That's really cool. That reminds me, at Trinity, we had a thing called John skills. So John is the most popular name in the world, and they were skills that any random John could do in a matter of 30 seconds, like communication, effort, where you're standing on defense. Like we can take a random person out of the crowd and say, stand here, and they will stand here. And those John skills are so imperative to a team's success and that's also the thing that we probably train the least. So it's cool. It's cool, that control bit. I like that a lot.
Yeah. I was looking at I was looking at your Instagram while I was doing my rapid fire questions, and your first post you have pinned it goes through your whole story, and at the end it's like, but they can't measure heart. And I think that kind of sums that all up. It's like it's really cool that there's there's so many aspects to the game, but at the core of it, it's like how much can you give and how much, like the more you give, the more you get out of it. I think that's yeah, it's cool.
Totally. And it's awesome for me to get on this pod with you guys. As you say, the John skills. I mean, I never played with any of you directly, but I played with a lot of Trinity guys through Lunenburg, and those guys pop into my head. For sure, Slater, his number one John skill was chasing after every ball. in training. He was the guy that the classic we have Marv Dunphy and Pepperdine. It's like, if you don't know, if you don't go, you don't know. This kind of like, if you don't pursue that ball, you get a coach on one. But Slater was the guy in my entire professional career. It didn't matter what training drill it was. He was laying out full send to go after a ball. And there was 5 or 6 times every season where he would make a huge momentum changing play because he had that habit built in. So yeah, that's those John skills are following Trinity guys through their whole careers for sure. So
Can you give me a John skill of Adam? Because I'm actually in Adam's apartment right now in Langley,
oh
sitting on his couch.
John Adam, I think re-brought in the love you, proud of you to the locker room.
Cool.
And that was just, it sounds so simple and so silly, but you're in the grind of a season, and people that, TK and him made it a joke almost as they're leaving the locker room. Hey, love you, proud of you, see you Monday type of thing. Like this little things like that can make a huge difference when you just had a terrible practice and you hear like something like that. So yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind with Shrine.
I can picture his voice saying that perfectly.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about on this podcast teammates, obviously, and we're kind of diving into this. And when you have a teammate who executes on their John skills regularly, like that's the dream, right? And it's inspiring. What have you learned when there's differences between you and your teammates' attitudes and that sort of thing?
Oh, also a good question. It's this kind of, to simplify it, it's this kind of Avengers type idea, right? You're totally different, but we're all going to bring hopefully our peak strengths, and that's going to form this amazing mega unit. The superheroes that all come together with their strengths. So yours might be totally different culturally and whatever it is, ethically, history, personality wise, even on the same, I'm not even just talking nationalities, I'm just talking human beings. We're all beautiful, unique creations. And so the more that you can lean into those strengths, even if that doesn't match with other teammates, like that's the purest form of, one of the purest forms of mastery is just unobstructed self-expression. Right? If you can get to that point, like if you can imbue that into your game in any way, then you end up becoming hopefully the best version of yourself in that moment too. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. But how about you guys?
Sure. Can you say that again? What did you say about mastery and expression?
Oh, there's a Josh Waitzkin book quote, or it comes from him, this idea that he was a chess champion, kind of like a young Bobby Fischer master level guy. And then he went on to become the world championship in some kind of jujitsu, I can't exactly remember what, some martial arts. And now he's like on the way to do it for foiling. And his whole thing is he's just has mastered learning. And one of the things he said was something along the lines of, the closer you can get to full self-expression is the purest form of your game, for example. Or like there are chess players who they play in a certain play style, and we see that on the court. Everyone is trying to get to their maximum peak. I mean, it's easy when we think about, for me, I'm a huge tennis fan. So Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, now Alcaraz, and Sinner, they're all masters of tennis, but they all do it in a completely different way. So I think it's important that we remind ourselves of that too in volleyball. It's like your world class is going to look a little bit different than those other guys on your team, and that's totally okay. So embrace that, find it for yourself, and just keep working towards that. And like that, they say comparison is a thief of joy, but the more that you can go, it's okay to, like, it's very normal to compare. I'm not saying, oh, don't beat yourself up for comparing. Be like, notice, what do you notice? Be curious about that comparison of like, what is it there that I like? And maybe how can I be a little bit more like that? Like, what are my strengths? What do I need to keep bringing like that? Because that's awesome. I like that a lot. So we don't need to have this judgment about, oh, compare. Like, that's a very natural and human thing to do. people still argue about Jordan and LeBron and whatever. It's like they're all masters in their own awesome, perfect human way. So
Hmm.
Yeah,
I love that.
I think that's like that's a fine line that I towed with a lot of my career. It's like you see all these amazing athletes, and it's like, oh, like I don't jump that high, or I'm not jumping as high as him, or I'm not hitting the ball as hard as him. But I think those are just your innate human kind of pieces to it. But like the actual the intangibles that you can learn from people, like that, comparing yourself, being like, he's a really good teammate, I want to be like him, or you know, this guy communicates the best I've ever seen. Like, how can I start to communicate like him, or how can I associate with people, you know, like that sort of thing.
Well, that was an interesting piece of our episode with Ben Joe, because I was speaking and I was like, oh, I'm sure over time you see similarities between athletes, and like then you know how to coach an athlete like that, and you can use that other person as a comparison, and you'd be like, oh, like maybe if you keep doing this, you'll have Cody's arm swing or whatever. And he's like, no, no, never do that. Like, never tell an athlete that you want them to be like someone else. And he said the same thing as you. Like, yeah, obviously there's models, there's pieces you can take, but it's like you should never want to be someone else or have someone else's something. It's like you can admire it and you can turn it into your own version. It needs to be internalized.
Mhm.
yeah.
Um, in terms of this can be character traits, John skills, or actual volleyball skills. You you've been improving your whole career. You're a lifelong learner. Do you think it's more important to work on your weaknesses or to leverage your strengths?
For sure, leverage your strengths. This is at least as you like the closer you go to competing, I would also say. I just remember uh, in the like training versus competition, I would even say there's a difference there, and you
Hmm.
kind of try and dial it a little bit. So I just remember Samuel Tuya when I got to BR volleys, I was still sometimes get so obsessed with my reception, which was not a strength of mine, and it would take away from other parts of the game. So there's the classic John Wooden, don't let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do. I think my career is also, I was never an elite level, nasty, like 120, 115 server. Just did not develop in my path, right? And if I had spent so much time, if the more, whenever I would get obsessed about that, that would detract from the rest of my game. So, but I am a world class level attacker, blocker, general athlete on the court, like reader, like, so I think the closer you go to competing, when so much of my last 10 years has been mostly competition mode as a pro, I think it's about the strengths. And again, because that's ultimately what you want to bring onto the court for that group. And then, of course, work on your weaknesses in training without extra judgment would be the ideal mix of that. Because you need both, as you say, to like get that long-term learning and growth. So
I'm curious about your um, thoughts on the relationship between confidence and cockiness. Because saying I'm a world-class attacker, I'm a world-class reader, that's not being cocky. That's you know your strength and you know your abilities. So especially for younger athletes who are still developing, maybe they are quite ahead at attacking. How do you prevent that from turning into cockiness?
love that question. So I also get into this. Uh, I got to plug my book here because this is a chapter of my book on confidence. In 2023, I looked at my whole career up to that point, and I wrote down, captured the 11 best lessons I've learned in my career, um, and put them all in a book. Told my story briefly, but hopefully, if anyone buys it, just skips over, you can skip my story and just get to the lessons. This ego versus confidence. Confidence is backed up by work and reality. So if I was working with a young athlete, like I'm a world class attacker, that took me a lot of time to build up. I mean, we got to go back to the Princeton days where I'm seeing a little bit like it has to be backed up by reality and you have to actually know it for real. And that can come, I would say, even you can get it off of one rep. Like that's where you could literally start is like, I hit a great ball down the line, like one time out of 10. But if you notice that, you can say, you know that you did it and you can see that you did it. Maybe it's on film. Awesome. I had to show that to myself and prove that to myself. So it wasn't until I showed up against Sinek Kazan and hit 700 or whatever that I was like, oh, I can actually say this to myself with proof that was behind me. But I still think you can build it up as a young athlete of go, look, I had one awesome practice where I was hitting this shot. Or like I said, even from one rep, one service rep, you can build that up slowly. And then you get 3 and then 5 and then 7 out of 10, whatever it is, any skill. And you can track, if you track it, stats is the best way we track that. So that's easiest to go back and show myself proof of I literally did that. And then you kind of build that up over time. But at the end of the day, confidence is backed up by real work, real life results. But I think you can start small with those real life results and then build them up into these thoughts, these affirmations, these mantras, whatever you want to call them, because you showed up and did it for real.
I think it's so cool how you keep words using the word reality. Like I think that's something I deal with a lot is like, is this reality or am I making this up in my head? And have I been making up in my head for so long that now I truly believe it might be my reality? And I think it's a cool distinction between the two, especially when you're going through all these ups and downs and you're far away from family and you're having bad practices and there's so much stuff going on. When you really look at the facts, you're like, oh, I can do that. I have done that. I've seen myself do that.
One of my favorite quotes is confidence doesn't come from shouting affirmations in the mirror. It comes from having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. And that's exactly what you were just saying there. Um,
Nailed it. And so build that stack for yourself. Like you do have to prune it yourself. Like we don't go and build that stack of tough moments and remember that over and over. You have to have what you're saying, that undeniable proof. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. Well, yeah, it's just I don't think lying to yourself is ever a good idea. Like when you say something like, "Oh yeah, I'm a great attacker," in the back of your mind, you know you don't have that proof. Like it'll just sit there, even no matter how loud you shout it in the mirror. Like that, you'll always know unless you have that proof. But I like what you said about it doesn't have to be big, and you can start small.
Yeah, journaling is awesome here too, because if you, we can just use my serving for an example. Like, because I was never this world-class level server, uh, it can be as simple as I served one awesome serve in practice today that you can literally write down 3 or 4 times for yourself. And there's a sports psychologist, Jim Lohr, who talks about how journaling is one of the best ways you can get to thought patterns. So this is where you're talking about building that stack of proof for yourself. That can be off of one rep. And then the next day, I served 2 aces, even if you didn't, or I served 7 out of 10 in this drill that we were tracking, or doesn't I felt like I had a great serving today. You write that 5 times in your journal, and then the next day you go, okay, maybe if it wasn't great, but you have to build that and be a little bit delusional about selecting that proof for yourself of what you revisit. So that's where the highlights like totally fine. I think not to be like totally okay to be a little bit delusional about your highlights. Like you play a game, everyone hits around 50, 60%. That means half the time they weren't successful. Half the teams lose in volleyball. I mean, it's not about that stuff. It's like, can I go back and select those awesome moments and build this undeniable proof for myself? And that's where there's a little bit of delusion that can come in, but like not so much because you actually did that. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but
Yeah, I agree. I think yeah, there's a nuance between what you were saying and lying to yourself. Like I wouldn't write down I had an awesome attacking day if I didn't, but
right.
I can still write that I had an awesome attacking day even if I had a bad passing day or a bad other skill day. Um, and yeah, like really locking in on the positive, even if you had a bad attacking day, you had that one attack that was like sick, and it was the shot that you've been working on for a couple months or whatever. I like that a lot.
And for Jesse or Maddie or Aaron, like how many times have you gone out and played volleyball and all six of your skills are 10 out of 10? It's happened to me maybe once or twice in my entire career. It's just like we play such a random, funny, ridiculous game in reality that yeah, it's like
Yeah, it's so true. I think I really like the delusional reality balance. I think that's so cool, but incredibly hard to achieve.
Mhm.
But I'm curious
uh,
about
before
invest.
sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
before we get away from this, because Stefan was awesome with me. On the other side of this, if you can go and find your automatic negative thoughts, they call them ants. So if you have these like, for me, it was I can't serve, I don't serve 115, whatever. I had to script out to myself, I am a dangerous and effective server, and replace that automatic negative thought of, oh, I'm not a great server with something, another, the next time that came up, my brain had some really better positive, and with journaling, you can sit down and you can do that. Say, hey, look, if there's these really couple negative things that just kind of keep coming up in my game that I don't feel awesome about, how can I actually just think about them differently? And all of a sudden, that's where I do think if you get rid of those, that's also going to be a huge. Maddie, you asked about strengths versus weaknesses. That would be a huge, awesome way to like affect your confidence with journaling. And Jim Lord is an awesome podcast on this, working with Dan Jansen, the guy who ran the the gold medalist. Amazing story where he changed disciplines in the speed skating. But yeah, other athletes too.
Hmm.
I'm curious about the if delusion in the good sense of the word plays a role in um improvement in the weight room. I know that you invest in your body a lot. You're always finding new ways to get stronger, to move more efficiently. But that to me is a very cut and dry if you're improving or not. Is there a role for delusion in that where you can kind of like tell yourself you're stronger than you are?
Good question. I don't know if it applies the same. I haven't thought about that a lot. Maddie, Aaron, you guys have anything on that? I think it's you get such a good, nice kick out of that tracking or feeling stronger over weeks. That for me is the boost. Um,
I I don't know. I feel like there's some days where you go in the weight room and you just think that like you feel good, you feel strong, like everything's moving right, like body feels good, but then you just you don't lift as much weight. And there's some days where you roll in at 6:45 in the morning and a terrible sleep or whatever, and then you just lift crazy weight. Like I think there's a there's definitely a line where you can tell yourself it's like, man, I'm a beast. But I think your body definitely has limits depending on the environment. Like, I don't know. What do you think, T?
What's your question, Jess? You're asking if it's
Can you out mind yourself in the weight room?
Yeah, like I'm saying like we've been talking about how you can convince yourself basically if you have one good performance in mind. Can you do the same with lifting?
I I think the proof is really important. Like that's the bedrock of it all. I don't think like
maybe a better analogy is like that would be your one rep max.
Yeah.
I
I
hit
know that I
that.
can do
I have
this.
to come back and like I know I can't go in and hit a one rep max every day. It's maybe not the best strength plan. I need to put in all these work and all these performances and all this whatever to build that back up, maybe.
Yeah, this might be a stupid question. We
No,
can,
I,
It's
but
I was
yeah.
just curious because it was a cool way to look at the proof and yeah, I
Mhm.
don't know.
Okay, well, here's something that I do find interesting. I'm not really lifting like an athlete anymore, which has been kind of fun, right? Because you just go rep bench and arms and all that stuff. And weightlifting is like one of the only activities or processes where you get a little glimpse into the future as you're doing it because you get a pump on, right? So imagine like you go to Spanish class and then for like that full hour you can speak Spanish like perfectly fluently, and then when you leave like you go back to your old self. That's kind of what happens in the weight room. Is like you get bigger and stronger for a second, and then it kind of fades. So I think that's like a motivating factor. Irrelevant for what we were just talking about, but
I've honestly never thought of it that way, but that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
anyways, let's talk about
Anyways.
but let's stay on the physical
Yeah.
train here because how many pro seasons have you played now, Cody?
I'll be going into my 11th season as a pro.
11th season. Yeah, that is tough to do. And especially playing national team in the summers, like year round for I don't know how many of those years you did that, but that is a lot. Um, what are some of the habits, physical or non, that have allowed you to stay in the game that long, and perform at such a high level?
I can honestly credit Stefan Hubner for giving me an awesome strength basis, just very bread and butter. Here's really nice pushing strength for volleyball. Like, here's really nice pulling strength. Here's really nice lower body push, lower body pull, single leg work. Uh, he leaned back in that day, he was leaning on all the work of Mike Boyle. And then I can also credit the USA. Tim Pillow had a strength emphasis. So those summers that I did get in the gym, I was getting like a nice, very strength focused work. And that set me up, I think, through a lot of the pounding that goes on. So what your question was more like, yeah, some habits I for sure. Again, there's no secrets. It's putting in the work day in, day out, and little things that help me were even from Stefan. I was really affected by him, but I continue to have my protein shake or whatever during my lift. I've never had stomach problems with that, and that actually like helps the absorption rate. I think around like anywhere from 5 to 15%. Basically, like you start breaking down muscle right away when you start your first set, and sometimes you don't finish your till 90 minutes or 2 hours in. So even these little 5 or 10% bumps in anything can really help. I think a lot of people get too caught up in the double leg, just like a normal back squat or a front squat, where a split squat is going to kick your butt way better. And you're also going to tell your difference between your right and your left. Like getting strong in Bulgarian split squats with Stefan, I think added years to my career. Things like this for jumpers um, and then you get to hydration, sleep, rest. I mean, I was lucky also during my days at Princeton. Shout out to Kristen Holmes-Wynn, who later she was a Princeton field hockey coach, and her office just happened to be by the Princeton volleyball office. And she taught there won some national titles in field hockey. She then went on to go be the vice president of Whoop. So she gave me a presentation all the way back in the day on rest and work cycles, and how much you should and can honor that rest cycle when you have a strong work cycle. So okay, go in and crush it in the gym. You gave your body that stimulus, but the growth is going to happen when you sleep. And the season that I became an All-American, I was a student athlete at Princeton, but with her presentation where she showed me how proof it was, where like if you get to bed by 10, you can get to bed at 10, you're going to have so much more muscle growth and sleep and performance benefits. That's just proven fact now. Like the number one performance enhancing thing that athletes can do is sleep really well. Okay, let's get into that a little bit. What might that look like? Does that, dark room, a little bit cooler room, reading before bed? When do we shut off the blue light? Talk about 5, 10, 15% bumps. It is the number one thing you can do. This work rest cycle thing, I would even take, so you can think about it in the day of the week. Luckily our trainers are handling kind of usually our monthly phases and cycles for the work and the rest. But I even think when you get into a game, this work rest honoring this cycle thing where like the whistle goes, and Reed Pretty used to talk to me about this, or to players about this, like this hyper focus of like that serve, that toss leaves the server's hand and I'm there, but then I'm like, boom, I'm even more there in on the ball, on the whatever I'm reading. And we're talking for like 7 seconds that the rally goes on, 10 seconds. And then I can almost let it go. The whistle goes, we know the ball's down, I let it go, I'm here. So you ride these little mini waves of hyper focus and rest, hyper focus and rest. This is like a very natural human thing to do with our training, with our work, with the whatever. And then, yeah, nutrition, hydration, that all comes into it too. But I kind of rambled there, but those are some of the ways, some little edges that I think really added up over time for my game and my body. And just, yeah, so.
That's cool. I love that hyper focus and rest cycles because I kind of discovered that my last year at university. The way I thought about it was like a wide shot lens and like a close up, like in the movies or whatever. It's like in between the rallies, like I would relax. I would actually like try to look around a little bit more, like not on the court, like look up at the fans or like kind of, I don't know, just explore the gym, kind of have that release. And then, yeah, as soon as it was time to go, zoom back in to where I needed to focus. And yeah, probably made the focusing easier because doesn't have to be sustained. And then also just made me like enjoy volleyball more because I was like chilling half the time.
That's funny. Cody, do you use an anchor? Are you familiar with anchors?
I'm familiar with anchors in the sense that they can give you this kind of reset point to, some guys have physical ones or visual ones, even visually calming your nervous system. I mean, this stuff with TJ has been great. That's how I'm familiar with anchors.
Yeah, that's Tease. Have we talked about anchors on the pod before?
Yeah, we did once. I think you and Oog talked about your
Yeah,
anchors.
I
Maybe a really
think it
long
was
time
like
ago.
episode 3.
Yeah.
Like it
Well,
was.
yeah. Basically, like Cody said, an anchor is something you do or say that resets, and you do it after every point, good or bad, and it brings you back into the present. And so for me, mine was give a compliment or ask a question. That was my reset. I would ask a question or I would give a compliment, even if it was to myself, but I would do that after every point, and then that was my grounding moment. So I'm curious, Cody, if you do have one, what is yours?
Wow, that's awesome to see. And I mean, I love that because it's a combination of a John skill and an anchor all in one, and you're able to bring that richness to your team and to the people around you. It's pretty awesome. I don't wouldn't have one in between points like you as named. I do lean on my breath a lot, and I have little routines for my service or my reception, but I'm not doing that all the time. For blocking, for me, an anchor is a really long, calm, deep breath at the net, usually with my hands above my head, something like that. What Maddie was saying too, I wanted to quickly. Karch also talks about like the difference between watching and seeing, and great thing to talk about younger players with, of or the elite players, of like what are you watching and what are you seeing, like what are you really kind of taking in a field that, classic ball setter, ball hitter, it might be like ball setter, ball hitter, but like what part of the hitter as a defender and what players are doing are watching versus really seeing small things at once. Sorry to get away from the anchor thing, Jesse. I want to keep
No,
going.
no, no. I love the watching and seeing thing. And we always talked about um baseball players. The hitters will look at the entire picture. And then as the windup starts, you kind of focus in on the shoulder and then the elbow and then the ball. And then you follow the ball. But you have to start wide, otherwise you're gonna miss so many cues.
Yeah.
Okay, dude, I just thought of a kind of a funny way to think about this too. I used to worry a lot about what people were thinking about me in the crowd, right? Like if I was playing good or bad. But a lot of times they're watching but not seeing anything.
Zero.
And I've said this a
They're
couple times.
watching
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Like I've said this story a couple times, but I had a buddy that came to visit one time to watch a Trinity game, and we gave him a jersey, and it just happened to be number 5, which was Brody's number.
Yeah.
And Brody, like whatever, great player. So after the game, everyone's coming up to my buddy Sam and asking him for signatures and photos because they thought he was Brody. So they just watched the whole game for like
Yeah.
2.5 hours,
Yeah.
but they still couldn't identify who that player was. So
Yeah.
that's like can pull some of the stress off too. It's like, yeah, they may be watching, but they're not seeing.
Definitely not. Definitely not. And there's a select few that see even these technical things. Stefan's one of them. Some other coaches are some one of them. But Jesse, with the anchor thing, I also love what you said about how it brings you back in the present moment, right? So the see one thing, say one thing, hear one thing, touch one thing. For me, the anchor was always the huddle too. Now that I'm thinking about it, that was always super important to me. A concept passed on to me by Sam Schweisky at Princeton, who was like all into the team sports psychology thing. He helped me a lot, and also the whole group with that. Of there's not a lot of sports that have that, right? That reset, and it's something sacred in volleyball, and it's a key part of the game too. So yeah,
Yeah, I think
And
that, and that's where I do it is, well, either there or serve receive. And even if I know the answer to the question, just asking the question, even if it reaffirms something, is I think so powerful. Or giving a compliment, lifting those up around you, it can change. Those are huge momentum swings too.
huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, it's cool. I like that you said that.
man, that reminds me of what Dad used to say. He always used to say, "Don't wish your life away," because like being not in the moment is the absolute killer of living the life you want to live. I find like, especially for me, like when I'm at university, it's like, oh, I wish I was at home. Like I wish I was doing the things that I want to do. And when I'm at home, I'm like, oh man, like I miss the grind with the boys and I miss this and like, but just being content with where you are and really just like Tia said, taking that wide lens view and being like, man, this is really cool. Like I am 100% in the moment fighting a battle with my boys. Like I think that's like don't wish your life away, but also don't wish the set away. Don't wish the match away. Like don't wish the day away.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's why
Um,
I get hooked on it too, right? Because we put all that work in to be so in it in the moment, and there's no mind wandering. Of course there is, but I love that, Aaron. Don't wish your life away. Just be where your feet are moment by moment. Yeah.
I completely unrelated. Kind of goes back to the improvement side of things that we were talking about at the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, but I was writing a blog post the other day, and because I received to me, some of the most powerful feedback from a coach this summer. It was from Dave Preston, ex McMaster head coach, coached Australian national team. But his like key thing was, I love where that is going. Instead of nice work or you got it, it's I love where that is going. And I that implies that there is an upward trajectory. And I thought that was so cool. I was like, you're right. I don't have it yet. I wasn't bad at it before, but it's going in a really cool place. And I came back to that a lot and I started saying that to myself too. I was like, this is going somewhere. I like where this is going. I like the trend. And it gives you the opportunity to change the direction if you don't like where it's going. So I think that was really cool. Anyways, like the question that goes along with this is is there any pieces of feedback that have stuck out in your mind that you just maybe did I already asked that question?
No, I don't
I
think
just
so.
had big time deja vu and I don't know if that was so weird.
No, no.
I like could see myself saying that same question, but maybe I was just thinking it.
No, I think it was something about other lessons or something. But in terms of feedback, um, I can think of like kind of different seasons in my career where certain things were really more impactful than others as I went through. Um, in Lunenburg, I really learned to embrace this. I loved volleyball and I wanted to be great so badly and so wanted it so bad that I was kind of often operating at like 110, 120. And when I could kind of get myself down to operating like 80%, especially in a performance context, that's when I was playing my best volleyball. That's it. That's the one that kind of comes a lot is I get so excited. I'm really athletic and a lot of skills. 80% of the time, I also have a problem. It's because I'm too early or too quick on the ball, or I'm too ahead of the whatever's going on. So that was a huge one in Lunenburg. I can think of other ones in Berlin and my university days. That's just one that sticks out now. Yeah.
It's cool. I think when it comes to those sorts of things, there's been a lot of times in my career where I'd be like, "Ah, that's it, figured it out, and then I feel like that's going to be my thing, and I'm going to hold on to that for like the rest of my career. But then, another problem comes up, and you find a new thing you say to yourself or a way to process it, and then whatever, figure that out, and it's just like never ending. So,
Totally. You
but
never
yeah, it's cool. It's
solve it.
yeah,
It's
it's
just
cool that you can think back to different uh like seasons of your career and like, oh, that was what I was working through and thinking about at that time based off like the feedback you're getting and kind of the mental processes you were going through.
yeah.
Man,
I
I
can briefly just flash on when I flash on the different chapters of when it was the university days, it was I was really like almost too nice. And Coach Schweisky was able to bring out this like inner beast in me. And so that happened a lot of different ways. But this like no, I am an unstoppable force. And just these like and how to like put that into my game and not be, oh, I need to be nice to everyone. And he brought that out of me in the university days. In the Berlin days, uh, I can really even go season by season that there were big pieces of feedback. But even off the court too, like one of my first or second year in Berlin, even the presence of Ben Patch on and off the court, like that lesson I took from him was he was so fully himself that he gave everyone else the permission around him to be more fully themselves. And that was like on and off the court, and you saw that come out. And I can even go guy by. I pride myself on also going back through a season where there's one thing from every guy that I remember of like that would be one thing I learned from him from whatever he did that I kind of want to take with me. Um, and yeah, and again, these superpowers, kind of recognizing these superpowers, and being okay with also sharing that with your teammates of uh, when the time is appropriate, or I don't know, but like that's been some of the most powerful team building stuff is when you go around and are like, and you might hear three or four different things. But a lot of times you have a theme come out, and then talk about building confidence or lasting belief in yourself. If you have 5 or 6 teammates that say like, "Hey, I really appreciate that you bring positivity and energy every day," that is super powerful for a young kid to hear, and how powerful it is that Jesse is doing that every point or something, or giving a
Mhm.
compliment of some kind, right? Like,
Yeah.
love you, proud of you. We all need to hear it more often for our own brains and our own selves. We're all these, just grown up kids, just looking for a lot of times just looking for approval and acceptance and wanting to be part of the group. So, yeah.
100%. That's so cool. I love what you said about Ben Patch being so genuinely himself
I,
that it gave other people the permission to do that as well. And I think that's when I think to all the people that I really like and admire, that's the common thread. Because I like all kinds of people, but the common thread is that they're themselves. And the people that are not themselves are trying to be someone else, probably going through internal conflict, but also it's pretty easy to see when that's the case. Um, and then creating the opportunities to um, share what you've learned from your teammates, I think is cool.
mm,
Those talks are like a lot gets done, I think. But like you're saying, it's kind of weird to just bring it up randomly. But I think if you're in a leadership position on a team, being aware of those things, pointing them out when you see them, maybe even creating like more of a formal opportunity to share those things is really cool as well, and really brings a team closer together and fills guys with confidence.
Yeah.
Oog,
yeah,
should we do your rapid fire questions
kind
here,
of just
buddy?
yeah. Can I just go back like a minute and a half?
Of course.
I, like Cody, you're talking about how like when you were younger, you worked at like 120, 130%, and it just wasn't working. And like you found like, okay, working at 80%, like my mind's clear and I can move. And I think, especially for me, but I think a lot of young athletes have this. It's like you think that you need to be like go, 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 go. And I just want to know, like, how did you kind of come to that? And how did you, like, I'm working through a couple of things right now where I think of, let's say, my approach or a standard transmission, where if you're going too fast, you punch the clutch and nothing's moving. Where it's like, okay, like I got here way too fast, punch the clutch, take a sec, and then go. Like, I just want to know, like, is there anything like that that you used or like
Yeah.
mental cues or?
Yeah, I think another reason the Lunenburg one was so powerful because I had a coach when I was like 15s. We would get some boys together and play. Well, even like at 14s, we would play the girls 18s. Then we just started playing against men at 14 and 15 in Colorado, like open gyms. And there was this thing called the Big House. You would go play 4 against 4, 6 against 6, like co-ed, reverse, kind of these adult level rec church leagues, whatever, wherever you could find volleyball. But there was a coach there that I had there, and he was like, "Hey, do you see this?" And this was the best player in the gym. I was 14. He's like, "You see what's special about him?" And I was like, "No, I don't get it." Because he's just operating at like 80%. He's not, you see how smooth he moves? Um, Slow is smooth and smooth is fast is another little one-liner that I remember from that. Um, that wasn't tied to him, but this like Taylor Sander, Taylor Crabb, these guys are so good at that. There's some of these Cuban players that you see, they're like, or this, it's this slowness, but then there's in that slowness, or like, you can watch a cat. Some cats are like very slow, but from that is just an amazing burst of energy and speed. So those are all these little things that kind of I use when I can to remind myself of that. Is that's all going to be in there. Yeah.
I think that's one of the
Yeah.
defining features of high level volleyball is that like serenity and the calmness of the way the game is played. And then I think back to like soccer, it's really easy to see that, right? Because like U14 soccer, or maybe younger, maybe you like eight soccer, everyone's running after the ball. It's like a flock of geese running after just the one circle. But then like you watch Champions League soccer and everyone's spread out and the game is like way slower at the highest level than it is at the lowest level because of that calmness, that serenity. I think that happens in volleyball as well. Like it's just a little bit chaotic and jumpy, but then as you get to a higher level, it becomes calmer. The ball moves faster,
Yeah.
but it looks like the people are more lazy, moving slower almost.
Yeah.
Okay, let's give this a go. Um, Honestly, let's start with the first one I have. So I'm gonna try
You want
and
to explain
stream.
what you're doing, Oog?
Oh yeah, rapid fire questions with Oog. Um,
Rapid fire. Let's go.
so basically, you just answer them. I don't know, couple sentences. They're not very deep. They're just kind of here to, I don't know, get a laugh or who
Yeah.
knows.
Let's go off the
But
cuff.
okay. Of the sports you played growing up, because what's the one you think you could have been equally as good at or would have liked to be like going after if you didn't play volleyball?
Would have loved to have a high level tennis career. That's just, I think, one I just still love watching that sport and the mental lessons that I've learned from great tennis players. And the rhythm is also a bit similar to volleyball. I love also their point scoring system. I wish we could capture that somehow and get that into volleyball where you can watch a game and at any point in time there's tension. That's something really special in tennis. Beautiful sport. I love it.
Yeah, cool. If you could book a trip right now, money's not a issue. Where would you go in the world and why?
Oh, I love that question. Gosh, I still need to make it to Australia and New Zealand. It's just such a wild part of the world. And if I had money, it was not an option to go travel all around Australia and, of course, Southeast Asia. But now I'm covering a lot of different parts of the world. It's a place I've never been, that area that
Yeah,
I want to check out. Yeah.
cool. If you had a spirit animal, what would it be and why?
It's an owl. It's also been shown up a lot in my life. But it's a symbol of self-awareness, wisdom, intuition, from also my days in Colorado. Bears, owls, and squirrels, but for sure the owl is my main spirit animal.
Cool. Okay, last one. If you could meet and hang out with any musician for a day, what would it be, or who would it be, and why?
Taylor Swift. She's a genius, and just like also talk about mastery. Someone who has mastered what she does. Would just love to hang out with her and learn how, yeah, learn some more about what she's just a master at what she does. So
Cool. I like that.
And Travis Kelsey.
And Travis
yeah,
Kelsey.
Travis hopefully is hanging out with us.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
Okay,
Cool. Yeah,
I
that.
want to add one, Ook,
Okay, yeah,
to
go.
the rapid fire questions. If you could change a rule in volleyball, what would you
Ooh.
change?
Uh, I think you should, for a sub, you shouldn't have to stop the game. You just run out there. NBA does it, they figure it out. Like, give the scoring people something a little bit extra to do at a pro level. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, just do, like, you track the middle, you track the libero, and then you do a sub. And if anyone messes up, and you find out later and you have to go rewind anyway. So don't make that an extra stoppage in play. Just go.
I
Like
love that. Yeah.
on the fly, so like mid rally or like.
Oh no, not mid rally. Rally stops. You make, you run, like everyone's
Yeah.
the rest of you running in. It's the scorekeeper's job. What else are they? I mean, yeah, okay, like figure out who you go in for. I know you can't miss, but how often would you miss? Like,
Yeah.
I think people would pretty much know. I don't think they mess that up, and we make a big deal out of it. It stops. Yeah, get
Yeah,
out of there.
I like it.
that's cool.
I also agree with you with the scoring in volleyball. I think volleyball would be significantly more entertaining if it was even like best of 7 to 15.
Mhm.
They tried
Because
it. They tried it at the one FIVB World Championships, I think. I don't know how it went or if it was
yeah,
good, but yeah.
or even tennis scoring. That would be so
Yeah.
intense, man.
The one I would also thought about would be like, you just do a round of serving. So like you do 6 serves, but however, or you do 6 rotations of serving. And so you also know, if you're the last server, how many points you have to make up.
For the set. Each set is a
Yeah,
rotation.
like each set is just a round.
Mm.
And it's like best of 9 or something. Maybe that's too many.
That's
Yeah,
cool. I
that's
think we
cool.
do that as a drill at Trinity
Right.
or something
Yeah.
similar. But yeah, dude, that would be cool. You roll back and you're like down a couple points. You need a point score like 3 times to win the game.
Yeah.
And then if it's tied at the end, then you can
Yeah,
you
every
get to
point
pick
still
a server.
matters, but you add that extra tension, right? And then it's
Yeah,
like you said, yeah, and then it's just a shoot off, a serve off, or
yeah,
whatever, one and
yeah,
one, one and one, one and one, something
yeah,
like that. I don't know.
yeah. Because it does, especially after like a really exciting set, when the following set starts, the energy is just like it just resets completely. And it needs this like massive, like 30-minute build up almost before it becomes exciting again.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Sweet.
Okay, there was a couple when TJ posted about you being on his show or something. I don't know how long ago that was, but I just saw it a couple days ago. And there's a couple quotes that I saw that I thought were pretty cool. I thought we could discuss. And the first one is the body knows what's wrong before the mind can make sense of it. What does that mean?
Yeah. I think like you, I really struggled with a concussion that kept me out. I thought it was going to be a few days, and was at least 6 weeks that I was really struggling. So, but when the thing happened, I I knew internally that something was really quite wrong, and it took me maybe like this just to again the reminder of honoring this innate learner and intelligence that's inside of us. You guys know inner game of tennis, like so much of elite level volleyball is played totally beyond thought. I love that we're doing all these stories, all this thinking, all this. We love the game so much. We think about it all the time. In the moment, it's in the moment. You have all your, it's like 6 people with their nervous system responses versus 6 other people with their pattern responses versus each other right in that moment, like moment by moment, small little reads, everything. And a spike, a block, it's beyond thought. It's beyond conscious thought. And that's why I think we also get hooked into it and we love it. Hitting a baseball, you're not consciously, it's like I've built up this skill and this art like a warrior, like a swordsman, so much that I can leave my mind out of it and I can operate at the peak level of my ability. And th- that's this self too that this 1970 Inner Game of Tennis classic talks about. Of it's not this frontal lobe thinking judger, it's this something deeper in us that knows what it's doing, knows ball, knows movement. Yeah, so combination of those things, like when it was injured and when it was something was really wrong, I knew before thought and before rationality, before any of that hit, that's something that I had an injury. But also that kind of reminds me of that path of yeah, what goes on the court is this all these yeah.
Really cool. That's why it's so important to be insanely intentional and thoughtful about your training so that you can be free
Completely
flowing and black out when you're playing.
totally.
And that's the best when something becomes, yeah, subconscious. I see that a lot playing the guitar. Like when I learn a new song, even like no matter how easy the song, like I just suck at it at first. And there's always the thought that crosses my mind where it's like, maybe this is the one song that I won't be able to learn.
Yeah,
And then eventually, like, yeah, it just becomes subconscious. And then a week later, I'm playing it without even looking or thinking. And I think that's just like the coolest, like you're saying. It's
yeah,
interesting how much of that goes on in competition. Like you said, six guys in their subconscious versus six other dudes in their subconscious, which they built up over the last 4 months of training.
totally. And of course we do game plans, of course we have this intention. This Karch also shared a really cool thing with me about this think box, play box. I don't know if you guys are golfers. Also, before a serve, for example, serving, I think serving, golfing, batting, and baseball all kind of similar in the sense that like you have this moment where you're like, okay, I kind of thinking about the general strategy, what I want to do, looking at the rotation, whatever. But then you step into that moment and you cross that line, and now you're playing, right? Now you're like that hyper focus, whatever you want to call it. And even if you can divide that, sometimes for some players that can be really helpful, either to like be more in one or a little bit more in the other. But these innate, like a lot of these athletes are athletes, man. They don't. There's not a lot of extra mental chatter going on at all. Zero. They're just so in touch with that other side of it too, which is awesome. But then maybe they need, who knows? I don't know. But maybe they don't. They're totally cool with staying in that point, but maybe they need more guidance from trainer, the people around them to push them for the long term. Yeah.
Hmm. Really cool. Okay, the second quote is resilience means staying with the unknown.
Yeah. Being comfortable, being uncomfortable. I think that's another Reed Pretty or national US men's national team. It's never perfect. It's never gonna be perfect. How well can you sit with that uncomfortability and that and not knowing and do difficult things for the sake of them being really difficult? It's it's this pro volleyball journey has been awesome and had its huge moments and highlights, but it's also absolutely miserable and a grind and just so tough at times. Um, and yeah, but this was staying like I've gotten better at staying with the unknown through volleyball. Like that has been my main choice of path of start, but it can come through any art form, weightlifting, whatever. Like if you can ice bath, this idea of like, I'm comfortable in uncomfortable situations and I got this. And that's just an awesome life skill to have for whatever.
Mm, that's so interesting. I was just thinking like um all fear lives in the unknown. All of it. Because if I'm fearful of a game, I've never been fearful of a game that has happened. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
When something happens, it's whatever. Maybe there can be other emotions, but definitely not fear.
Yeah.
So it's all in the unknown. That's so interesting.
Man, fear, I kind of want to just touch on this a little bit, but like fear is one of the weirdest things in my mind. And I've been doing a lot of research because I'm a very, I would say I'm a very fearful person. Like there's a lot of things that I do in a day that are kind of unknown. It's like, hey, like it's all built up in your mind. And I don't think you're born with fear. Like kids aren't fearful, but it's the environment that they're in that makes them fearful of whatever it is. And I think for volleyball, it's like if you teach kids at a young age that competing isn't something to be feared, like getting beat is not the end of the world. Like or like I don't know, for me, like I didn't grow up riding horses, but I've been trying to learn because my girlfriend rides horses. And it's true what they say. Horses can feel your fear. Like they know when you're scared. When I hop up there versus when she hops up there, it's way different because for me, I'm uncomfortable and it hurts and I'm like I don't know what this thing's gonna do. But I think like being super okay with the fact that you know or you trust your teammates or you trust your horse and everything at the end of the day will work out. It was a really long winded to say that fear is a very strong inhibitor of mastery.
Yeah, and you're right, Ook. I just Googled it. Babies are only innately scared of two things: loud noises and heights,
Hmm. Yeah,
or
I
falling.
saw this video of these kids like 2, 3 years old, and people would like pull a box off of this like white screen, and there'd just be like a snake or something, and the kid would just grab the snake and just be like, "Hmm." Or like, but then you do that to someone who's Jesse, who's petrified of snakes, and he freaks out because he almost grabbed a couple and they spooked him. You know, like you you're taught to fear things when really you should. I've never figured out how to undo fear. I think undoing fear is by doing. But yeah,
Moral of the story, it's all in your head. Get out
yeah,
of your dang head.
100% in your head.
It's where it all happens
Yeah.
anyway, right? But no, I know I mean, what's on the other side of fear? Nothing. I don't know. There's another one that's, but you're totally right. There's elements of conditioning, team, whatever, the story that we tell ourselves. For sure, there's like the one that I flash on a lot that was powerful lesson or reminder for me is Alex Honnold, this guy that free soloed El Capitan. And of course, he built this up over years and years and years and years to be able to not be fearful. Of course, if you build up horse riding, anything, any skill, you know, his also his brain, like his amygdala, like the part of the brain that produces fear, it doesn't fire in the same way. It like has this level of no response. And that can come from a lot of different ways of training, and samurais do it, warriors do it for all kinds of different things. Like, but yeah, it's these, when we get to 25, 23, 23, 23, we've built up this story that's pretty hard to ignore. But again, it's just another moment. And like the fear of what? Of losing a game? No, but it's this it's all in our heads. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Uh, I got one more question, then we'll do a closing question after that. Um, I saw today that you didn't get your first national team start till you were 30 years old, which is pretty wild. And this year I coached a club volleyball team, and there's an athlete that was going to their first national team event, and we were chatting, and he was just so scared of getting cut because he said it was his dream to play for the national team. Like ever since he was a little kid, it was his dream to play for the national team, and if he didn't make this team, like that would be taken away. And that was understandably that's how he was thinking about it because that was the biggest thing for him in the moment. But having not had that opportunity till you were 30 years old, what would you say to someone who has those dreams and they're not working out? You're getting close, maybe, yeah, all these setbacks. what was that journey like for you? What would you say to those kids?
You gotta love it. Gotta love it. I mean, there's a little bit of survivorship bias I want to start with of like, I easily could have gone on this 10-year pro volleyball journey and never started for the national team. So, but I loved the process of getting better, of the fact that as a childhood dream of being a pro athlete, are you serious? You know, finding these moments of delight over and over and over again through difficult seasons of like, oh, I actually get to go work out in the morning with basically a professional trainer who's trying to help me become my best. And then I get to go train at the sport that I love the most. I was able to do that after university for a few years, fell in love with it, was around some amazing people that supported my development and my growth, was able to keep putting myself in awesome situations. Of course, I worked my butt off. Of course, I made a huge amount of sacrifices. I loved it enough. And those down moments where I did get cut, which I got cut 6 or 7 or 8 times from different national team rosters and teams, or told that I was never going to be, whatever, like cut, see you later. If it's not this straight line of, it's like goes like this and around and here and down and up. And if you hit those moments and you don't keep going and you don't love it enough, then that it doesn't continue. But I was just happened to be one of those ones with some perspective, knowing that I could peak late, knowing that I could be a late bloomer, where I hit all these downs and I said, hey, some crazy injury in my first year, I still love this, I still want to keep going, I still want to keep making the sacrifices necessary. And that's not always easy. I mean, it doesn't work out for 95% of people. For me, it did. And so just to share that we are a late blooming sport, we are something where you peak in your late 20s. If you're able to, and I was, again, lucky enough to set up my life to do that, for sure, do it and chase it. It's an amazing global sport. You don't have to be the 1% of the 1%. Our sport needs coaches, referees, fans, people who are crazy about the game, people who love the game at all levels. And so I get
Really
to share
cool.
this really cool story of I made it, but there's a lot that don't. And I love the process of getting better. And over 8 more years, that unlocked this level of mastery that where I was able to be good enough to earn that spot.
So cool.
Cool.
So the goal was there, but it wasn't your reason for continuing.
It was there. I mean, it was there just in the sense that like that was the dream. I didn't go around Europe chasing contracts based purely on money, or I went to go overseas to play volleyball, to play for the national team.
Mhm.
That was the childhood dream. That was it. The byproduct, like being a pro athlete, was also a childhood dream. Playing for BR Volleys, because I used to watch the Shojis play and Paul Carroll, and like I was like, that was also a childhood. Like these things are part of it. The lifestyle of given traveled Europe, and there's so many things to fall in love with that you do have to remind yourself of, because as anyone who's gone over for 1 year or knows, it's anything but sunshine and rainbows. I'm talking about all the nice, fun, happy stuff, choosing these moments of joy, because you have to have these little stars and lights of joy and fun and awesomeness, because it's a lot of dark. It's a lot of darkness and it's a lot of work. And and I get to sit here and say, hey, it worked out for me. But like I said, just getting back to that love of the process, like, getting like that's what got me through. That's what got me through, among other things. I'm like also maximizing my time in the gym, understanding motor learning, all these things that I also seek to pass on to others in my book and my blogs and all the free resources I put out there. Again, we talked about it earlier in the podcast, but you are you. Your path is not going to look exactly like mine. Your skill set's not exactly like mine. You're not me. So how do we unlock that for that player in that moment in that time? Keep giving them awesome environments where they can work to their maximum and unlock these things too, and to become the best players that they can be.
Cool.
Unreal.
Mhm.
Okay, last question. What would be your advice to your younger self?
How young am I? No, I would advice. I would just say keep being you, keep doing you, something like that. That's invisible scorecard of making sure that you continue to treat the people around you lovingly, kindly. That's this hidden scorecard of all sports and these interactions that we have, and this winning and losing are temporary, but friendships last forever. This is real stuff. So I would just remind them of that, and like to not let any of that volleyball stuff get in the way of how you treat people either. So
Love that answer.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. Um, Thank you so much for coming on, Cody. That was awesome.
awesome.
Love learning from you. Super cool
Thank you.
chatting. Ooh, where can people find your book?
They can find it all in my link in bio. I got to get a website going, but if you go to my Instagram profile, search me online, it's all there. Um, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, Instagram, social media will get you to all the links there. Link page for book, free newsletter, bunch of blogs over the years that I tried to write and keep capturing these lessons. And yeah, just keep.
That's
I'll keep
cool.
putting
Love
that
that.
out.
Sweet.
People, check Cody's stuff out. Super cool guy to learn from. And the content keeps rolling. I think that wraps up episode number 40 of the Pittsburgh podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening and signing off.